Please unmute so I know you are following. Hello.
Yoo-hoo. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Roger that.
Perfect. I thought it was my device.
We can hear you.
All right. All right. Thank you. So I'm just trying to set my device. So yeah, I asked a question about any one of us understanding or knowing the basics of C. Does any one of us here have that or know the basics?
You get the question again.
Please say that again.
Did not get your question correctly. Please, can you repeat?
Okay. So do you understand the basics of C programming language? Have you heard of the word before, C programming language? I'm seeing some new people. This is the first time they're joining us. Timex, Larry, Abdullah, Sandra Zenith. Are you all with us?
Yeah, we are here with you.
All right. Nice to know that. So have you all come across this term before? C programming language.
Heard of it,
Okay.
but don't know much about it.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
Started
basically, for
learning it
those,
yesterday.
yeah,
Just started learning it yesterday.
you just started learning it yesterday. You just started learning it yesterday.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's start now. Okay. So basically, we're going to start with C, of course. So we're going to talk a little bit about C. So I'll try to give a definition of C. So basically, C is a programming language. Let me see if I can type it. C is a programming language that has been around for quite some time now. So basically, C is a programming language that has been around. It has been part of the earliest programming languages ever created, right? And so it has a lot of syntax. It has a lot of specific ways to go about using it. So now, when we talk about a programming language, we're talking about a language that allows us to perform certain tasks, a language that allows us to create certain softwares, certain programs, and certain applications. Okay. Now, these languages or these programming languages are usually called, I'm going to write this out, high level languages. So C is an example of a high level language. A high level language is a language that can be easily understood by humans. So meaning the syntax, the way it is structured, it is easily readable and understandable by us humans. While a low level language is a language that is not easily understood, it's only meant for a computer to understand. So that's the difference between a high level language and low level language. Now, C is an example of a high level language because, as we've already stated before, it can be easily understood by humans. So now, to get started with using C, there are a bunch of things we need to note. Now, during our previous sessions, we talked about some things we can use to work with C. For example, we need a compiler to get started. We need a compiler, and a compiler is basically something that will translate our code from a high-level language to a low-level language, or a language that will be understood by the computer and then interpreted for us. So basically, we have our inputs. Let me see if I can structure that out. Basically, we have our inputs, then we have our processing, and then we have our output. Now, in this case, the input is the code we type, right? That's the input. Now, the processing is compiling. That's processing. And then the output is our information. Just leave that output. So that is an example of how it works. So we have the input, we have the processing, and we have output. Now, our code we type in is known as an input because we are typing it into our IDE, into our independent development environment. And yeah, so our IDE is basically something we use to run our code. It's an environment where we create, we work, we debug. It's basically a coding environment. That's called an IDE. So I'll type it out again. Hope we're taking notes of these terms. Let me type it out. An IDE, independent development environment. That's called an IDE. It's the place where code is run and everything is done. Okay. Okay. All right. So basically now we have this. We have our ID, and then the first thing to do, of course, is to understand the way a C code works. Now, like I said, C is an example of a high-level language. And as such, there are other high-level languages. There are others that are built on top of C. There are other variations of C. There are other, can I say children of C? Yes, let me say children of C. One such, an example of such a child of C is known as C sharp. This is an example, child of C, C sharp. And then another example is C++. These are all children that were born or were created from C. They are advanced variations of C. Now, we're not going to be talking about this because our program won't cover this. We're just going to be talking about C. So C has its own special syntax. Now, for example, we just want to, as a developer or as an aspiring developer, there are some things you need to know. For example, by convention, it's easier for programmers to just put the word hello world. That should be their first program. Hello world. Hello world. It's sort of like a way of saying, oh, hello world, this is me. I have written my first program in C. So we're going to show you guys how that's done momentarily. For now, we're going to create a program that prints hello world on the screen. So that is our aim. Create a program that will print hello world on the screen. Now, before I go about creating this for everyone, showing us how it's done, I believe we have some scholars already on the chat. So I'm going to appoint some scholars here to help us. Let's start with Trust. Can you quickly give us a program that will echo or that will print out hello world on our console? Can you do that for us?
Sorry, I didn't get your question correctly.
The goal is to create a program or to give us a code that will output hello world. Can you do that for us?
Okay. I'm just in the keyboard now.
Okay.
It's actually hard for me. I can't remember the steps. I haven't been going through it continuously for a while now.
Okay. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Again, this is just like an introduction. It's not like a test or anything. So we're all here to learn together. Even me, I'll be learning from you guys. Do we have someone who can volunteer? Chimex Larry or some trio. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay. So can you give us a code that prints out the word hello world for us? Okay. So while he's on
See my
that,
screen.
yes, but it's blank.
Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Okay.
Let me open
So,
my notepad first.
sorry, who's screen sharing? Is it Trust or Samtrill?
Oh, not me.
I'm not the
Not
one.
me.
I'm not the one.
Okay, okay. So basically, there's a syntax. I'll share the syntax in a bit. I'll share the way it's supposed to be created, or the set of rules it follows, to say the least. I'll share that, and then I'll of course run it on my PC, and then we'll all see how it's done, right? So okay, let's just watch how Sam does this for us.
Okay, maybe I'll just write it down because I'm not really good with. Okay, are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, I believe we
Oh,
all can.
okay. So I'll go to my notepad now. Okay, firstly, we have to impute this hash symbol. Then we add include, and we use the normal bracket, normal round bracket. Oh, sorry, not this one. Use this bracket. Then studio.
Again, if you don't understand what he's doing, just follow along. I'm going to explain each of these syntax one by one, so it doesn't seem too um, too cryptic.
Then we use int main, at the down.
Okay,
Yeah, one more thing. Yeah, that's
all right. Thank you very much, Sam Trio.
okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So, Trust, I believe you can turn off your camera. It's on. Trust, your camera is on. Trust, can you hear us?
So sorry. So
Your camera is on. Okay, yeah, thank you. So, for those of us that didn't get that, let me type it out again. So basically, if we want to write a program, let me just pull out the question. Write a program that outputs the following message. Hello world. This is our goal, to output a message in C that says hello world. Now the first thing we're going to do is have our hashtag. The hashtag, and then we'll say include stdio.h. Now what does this mean? Okay, let me complete it before I explain. And then we'll say int main, and then we'll open a bracket, and then we'll open this, of course, and then in this we'll say printf hello world. And then one more thing, we'll say return 0, and then we're done. Now basically this is a code in C that will perform just one function. It will output hello world for us. This is the function of this particular line of code. Now in a bit, I'm going to run it in an actual terminal, I'm going to run it in an actual IDE. So, but first, let me try to explain what we just did now. Let me try to explain. Now, the first line of code, the hashtag include. Now, one thing you need to know is that C is case sensitive. When I mean C case sensitive, let me just write it out. It's case sensitive. Like most programming languages, they are case sensitive. So this just means that writing a word or writing a word in small letter is different from writing that same word in capital letters. So, for example, if you were to specify something, or this include, for example, if I should write it in all capital letters, it will give me an error because it will not understand, because it is case sensitive. It has to be in lower cases, except specific values or specific words that are supposed to be written in capital letters. So that's the first thing to note. It is case sensitive. And also the syntax, the way they are written. Notice, I didn't put a space before the I. They are written together. After the hashtag, there was no space. They are added together, but here you can see that there is a space. There is a space here. So the way you structure your code, it matters. It allows for easy readability, and it allows for zero errors while compiling. Compiling is simply another word for processing, or processing your code. All right. Now, we have this line, include stdio.h. What does this actually mean? Can someone help us with? Does anyone here know what this line of code means and why we add it to our code? Include stdio.h. Anyone? Okay. All right. So basically, this particular. Sorry, Wisdom, are you trying to say something?
Yeah, I was trying to say something. So you say hashtag include studio. So actually that has been thinking about
Yeah, sorry, your mic is quite sensitive.
Your voice is loud. If you are charging, can unplug your charger.
Okay. So basically, let me just go ahead with the explanation. The include stdio.h is called a header file library. Let me type that out. Header file. If we can, please take notes. If you can, please take notes. Please. Wisdom, please mute. It's quite sensitive. Your mic is really sensitive. Thank you. It's really sensitive. And it's quite sharp. So,
Sorry, are we
if you
writing
can,
this code on Ubuntu or Vim?
Ubuntu is a Linux terminal.
Did you get
Vim is a command line terminal. So we're trying to run this using code blocks. We're not going to Ubuntu or a Linux terminal now. We're just running it using code blocks. I'll share my screen. Okay, let me just share that a bit. Okay, so this is the IDE we will be using to run the code. It's called code blocks. It's called code blocks.
Okay.
Now, I believe some of us have you not been attending the previous sessions, because we've even on the group chat we dropped a link to download code blocks. We did a video on how to install it and how to install your GCC compiler, which we're going to also do now. We're also going to do this now because it's a marathon class. So we're going to do everything we've done so far. So if you don't have code blocks and you have your laptop with you, it's fine. We can do it together. So code blocks is an example of an IDE. Remember I mentioned an IDE, an independent development environment. An IDE is basically a place where you can write your code and it will get executed in real time. So I'm going to copy this code. I'm going to create a file basically. I'm going to create a file and copy and paste or just type this code we just created. So let's just now I have a file called newfile.c.
I couldn't hear you for up to a minute.
You could not hear me for a minute.
You went mute, I guess.
Is everyone following? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Titech, it has to be with it has to be your network. So we have a new file created called newfile.c, and notice the extension, the file extension .c. Yeah, Samtrill.
Sorry, but can you do this step again? I don't use code block yet. I use Studio VS Studio, so I don't know how to create new file.
Basically, you can just use Control N and it will create
I
a
did
file.
not get that.
That's how it's always done in every single. Okay, you can't just quickly for the sake of you did not get what.
Didn't hear.
You did not get that step.
Get what you said.
Network is bad, so you went blank. You went mute again for the second time. Then you came back up and wrapped everything all at once.
My
So
network.
we didn't get, yeah.
Okay.
We
All right. Let me.
get everything you said again.
Okay. So basically, I just opened code blocks and then I created a new file and then I saved it as newfile.c. I specified it as .c because it's going to be a C file. I'm going to be writing a C code here. Now, right now it's blank. I haven't written anything here. So I'll start with the first code and I said the hashtag and I said include. Now you can see it's automatically formatted to green. You see the color, it has changed to green. So this is just a way of telling you that this is not a normal code, or this is not a normal text, but rather it's a programming text, it's a programming language. You're actually writing a code. So if you were to write this in a normal text like your normal notepad or your normal text, you won't have any colors attached to them because they are not properly formatted to handle code. But when you use these programming IDEs, you get them formatted and you save them with their particular file extension. It will always format that particular code for you. So moving on, we have the include and then we have the stdio.h. Now this is the first line of the code we got. Include stdio.h. Now I'm going to introduce something new and it's called a comment. Now you're writing a code and while writing your code, you want to keep track or you want to know what that specific code is doing. But if you type things in it, it's going to give you an error. If you just begin to type things and say this is an example, you can say it's black. So it's going to think that this is a code and it will try to execute it. And when it executes, it will tell you that this is an error. It will not run. But the moment when you do something like this, your backslash and your backslash, two backslash. Now notice what happens when I start to type. This is an error. Now, okay, not an error actually. This is a comment. This is a comment. Now, notice that the formatting has changed. You can notice the color between this and this. So it's easy to tell you that this is a comment. Now, this comment, it will not be executed. It's basically invisible to your compiler. So when running your code, this will be invisible. It will not be run. So, but something that is written without a comment, it will be run or it will be executed, it will be compiled. So that is why when you want to write any note, this is a comment, this is a code for printing out hello world. Now, I just wrote something and it's quite dull. It's an example of a comment. So it's basically telling us that this is the function of this particular code. It's for printing out hello world. I just type it. So anytime I come back to this code again, I'm going to see that as a note. Okay, this is the reason why I created this. This is the reason why I did this like this. It is quite helpful to help you remember the reason why you did that in the first place. Because imagine there's no way to keep track of your notes. It's like you going to class and you have your pen and your pencil, but you're not taking down notes. At the end, when text or exam comes, there's no way you can pass if you don't have notes to at least refresh your memory. That's the same thing with these comments. They serve as a way of refreshing your memory. They serve as a way of explaining things you don't want the compiler to compile. You can also use them to hide your code if you don't want them to be compiled. So it's a great way for debugging as well. Maybe when you have an error or stuff like that, you can actually use this to comment out that particular line of code. So now let's move on. The second line is actually int main. Int main. Now, yeah.
Can I get the link to code blocks so I can download it now? Because I feel like
just search for code blocks on Google Chrome.
Telegram or WhatsApp.
On Google Chrome. It will be the first link that pops up. Yes, it will be the first link that pops up. Code blocks. So yeah. Yes. So now I have. On any browser you have, just search for code blocks.
Okay.
So let me start this again. Now I have int, then main.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is it necessary to leave those spaces?
No, it's not
Like
necessary. Again, it's just a way to properly format your code so it's easily understandable. So I don't want everything to be jam-packed, everything to be right next to each other. It will make my code seem, scattered or less structured. So by leaving some spaces out, it allows my code to be easily read and understood. So again, you can choose any way of writing it so long the spaces will not give you an issue while compiling. So there's nothing to worry about. It's not compulsory. You can take it down to the end of the list or to the end of the file, and it will not cause any issue. So it's just a way of formatting your code, so it's better understand and read. So now we have int. Yeah. So we have int main, and then we have a bracket. So okay, it's not complete, of course, without a parentheses. So basically, what this means is that the int here is basically called something we call a data type. Okay, let me type it here. It's called a data type. Now, while we were in school, or when we were in school, we were taught some basic arithmetics. We taught about numbers. We talked about algebras and stuff like that. And we also taught logical operators like logical OR gate, logical AND gate, logical NOT gate. Now, all those things that we were taught are actually quite useful in programming, because programming it takes a little bit of mathematics and logic. So of course, it's not entirely based on mathematics, but it adheres or it succumbs to the natural laws of mathematics. Okay. Of course, not to all the laws of mathematics. There are some times where programming logic defies mathematical logic. So there's some difference to that as well. Now, basically, a data type is, just like the name implies, a data type is a type of data. It's like an explanation or a declaration of the type of data you want to be handled. Now, basically, you will agree with me that there are different types of data. We have numeric data like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 60 million, 70 million, 2,870. All these are numeric data. Money, for example, is an example of numeric data because it has to do with numbers. You have 20,000 naira, 50,000 naira. You don't have 20,000 naira and A. There is no alphabet attached to money. It's just purely numeric. Now that's an example of a numeric data type, a data type that has to do with numbers. Another type of data type is alphabetical. Yeah, I'm just trying to classify them so we sort of like get the idea. Alphabetical, as the name implies, it has to do with alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, like that. It has to do with spellings as well. My name is Clarkson. That's an alphabetical data type. The data type that has to do with alphabets. Okay. Now, with these two in mind, I think we can sort of like explain the function of int. Now, I mentioned a numeric data type. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. I mentioned a numeric data type. A numeric data type, as I mentioned, has to do with numbers as well. And the correct way to specify this in any programming language is using the keyword int. Int is basically short for integer. integer, integer, because it is an integer, it is a numeric, or it is a number. So any number or any number at all is basically stored using an int data type, in an int data type. So we have int, that's the definition or the explanation of this int here. So anywhere you see int, know that anything that's going to be stored inside. So basically it's a container. Yes, think of it as a container for storing things. Yeah, that can help. Think of these data types as containers for storing your data. So I have int, notice in small letter, int. It's a data type, and I can specify the name of this int I'm trying to create. I can say int number 1, something like that. It will be equal to the number I want to save. I can then say 7800. I've just created an integer. You can see now 7,800 has been stored in this integer number 1 called number 1. Notice I did not apply what's it called? Okay, we'll get to that soon. But notice I created the variable. We have the data type called int, which of course will store an integer value, a number value. And then I gave it a name. So that is the structure. You have to give it a name. You cannot just say int is equals to 7,800. It will give you an error. You have to specify the name because it's a container. So you have to specify the name so that you know what to call. So I can then say number 1. So if I want to number 1. So if I want to access 7,800, I can easily call number 1. And number 1 would tell me that 7,800 is currently stored here. So that's an example of data types. So I believe we understand that part now.
I want to ask a question. The
Okay.
main open bracket and close. What's the meaning of the open bracket and close brackets?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm just talking about int now. Midoli, please, you have to mute. Does everyone else understand the definition or the reason why we have int there, or the meaning of int, int?
Yes.
Sorry, I just joined in. I don't
Understand. Thank you very much.
Midoli, please mute if you're not talking.
Sorry, I just joined in. Can you please go over the meaning of an integer again, like the uses and all?
Again, if you just joined in, a recording of this session will be available. So you can always go through or rewatch as many times as possible after.
Okay. Is this on the same YouTube?
Yes, it's going to be on the same channel.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So let me do a recap. Basically, we've just created, we've just written our second line of code, int main, and then we have some cryptic information here like the brackets and the parentheses. What are their functions? We are going to talk about them in a bit. So let me get rid of the parentheses now. I'm trying to explain this as slowly and as easily as I can so we can all understand it. Because come tomorrow, we won't be doing child's play at ALX. They'll be hitting us with the hard stuff. So this is just like a way of preparing our mind for what's to come. Our sessions held by Maxwell, who, okay, he just left the chat. I think he'll be back shortly. Held by Maxwell, the lazy programmer, and Alex, yeah. It has been alternated by by the three of us. They have all been preparing us for tomorrow or for our coding challenges and the like. So basically, when the time comes, I hope we'll have some knowledge about what to expect. Now, the main is basically called a function. Now, what's the role of a function? Now, think of a car, right? You have a car. Now, in this car, you have a lot of components. Let's call them components. We have a lot of features attached to the car. One such component is the steering wheel. Everyone knows the function of the steering wheel, right? It's quite easy. The function of a steering wheel in a car. Some response, please.
We do. It's to direct.
Yes, we do know the function of a steering
Direct
wheel.
yourself. Direct the car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you know the function. The steering wheel, it performs sorry. Now we can't see anything. Now, the function of the steering wheel basically is to control the car. Now, is the steering wheel responsible for letting you know if you have low fuel or low oil? Is the steering wheel responsible for telling you that?
Not at all.
No.
It has one specific function. It tells you, or it helps you to navigate, not even navigate, it controls the direction of the car. That is its function. That is the main function. Now, in programming, we have things called functions. Now, just like a car, how it has different components, and each component has their own functions, just as we have our brake pad, our accelerator, and clutch, and the likes. Programming has different functions. You can choose to create different functions. Now, one such function is the main function. Now, in C, there's something called the main function. Now, as the name implies, the main function is basically the brain box. Let's call it the brain box. It's basically the function that houses all other functions. So it means that without this main function, your car, in a way, in a literal way, your car will not run, or your code will not run. So I'm trying to use I'm trying to compare them. Yeah, in a way, the main is like the engine of the car. Without it, your code will not run. So every single code you are going to write must be inside your main function. And you specify this as a function using your open and close brackets. So if I had just written main, it will not understand anything. But I have my open and close bracket to tell you that that main is a function. I have just created the main function. Now, moving on. I'm sorry, I need to respond to this. It's supposed to show on your phone. Naomi, if you can hear me, just try to, I think you can't see my screen. I think you should leave the chat, leave the voice call, leave the call rather, and join again. It should pop up. Yeah, try to do that. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So you specify, you let them know, or you let it know that it's a main function by saying main. And notice it is not separated, like written like this. It is joined together. Okay, main. Now we have our int main. And then the next thing we're going to have is, of course, our parentheses. Our parentheses is just, all right, no problems. Our parentheses is just a way of saying, declaring the body or the scope of that particular function. Now you can see, it actually told me that the line started from line 6 to line 12. You can see this line here. So if I should extend it, you see it keeps going down. It keeps going down. The line keeps going down. And you can see every single code will be written inside these two parentheses, inside this parenthesis here. So I can go down as much as I want and it will still go down with me. So let me get rid of the extra space. Now I have a code and I have int main. So I now have the body. Now inside here I'm going to write my first function. I'm going to write the printf. printf. Now this printf is another function. Now I told you that the main function is a function, or the main function that houses all other functions. And printf is another function. You know it's another function because it also has brackets. So that's how you know it's a function. Now, this particular bracket or this particular function, printf, it does not take an empty argument. Like you can actually specify past things inside. Now, I mentioned alphabetical data types a while ago, and I said they have to do with sorry, not numbers. They have to do with letters, alphabet, and the like. They have to do with strings of letters. Like my name is Clarkson, and I'm a software engineer. My name is Skuro, and I'm a software engineer. My name is Sandra. My name is Naomi, and I'm a software engineer. That's an example of a string. It's actually called a string data type. So let me just type this here. string. A string data type. Now, string data types, as I've explained, basically are strings. You can specify strings. Now, to actually let the compiler know that you are writing or you are passing a string, you do not pass a string here like this is a string. It will give you an error. It will give you an error. But how can you do this? You can do this simply by using the double quotes. Now you can see the double quotes clearly. Okay, let me try to increase my screen. Now you can see the double quotes. Now every single thing you are going to write, every single string should be written inside this double quote. For example, this is a string. You can see the color is blue. So it's an example of a string. Everything inside there will be called. Now, our main aim is to say hello world. So we just say HELLOWRLD, hello world. And then at the end of every function such as this, can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes,
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. So at the end of every function such as this, you use a semicolon to specify that this is the end of this particular function. So there's a semicolon attached to this. So basically, I'm calling this function called printf, and I'm telling it to say hello world. and I'm ending it here. And I will then go to the next line, and then I have another word called T-Tech, I think it's your network, called return, and then I'll specify 0. Now, can anyone tell me why I'm returning 0, or why I have return 0 here? Anyone at all?
I think it's because the function will not be returning anything.
No. I think
please say that again.
I think the function will not be returning anything, and since it's not returning anything, then we just use the return 0.
Thank you. Anyone has a contrary opinion?
Okay, to my own understanding, I think since it's a computer language, if you don't close it, that's to my own understanding. If you don't close it without return 0, I don't know. I think it will keep on printing like the message until you tell it return 0. Then you are specifying that is the end of your code. I don't know. That's to my own understanding.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry, I don't have a question, a reply concerning return 0, but I have a question. I just installed my code blocks, and it's asking if I use code blocks as a default application for C and C+ files. Will I continue with it? Will I leave everything as it is, or just use it as a default application for C and C+ files?
Are you asking a question related to code blocks on how to go about using it?
Yes, how to go about it. I've installed it already, so
okay. We'll attend to that. Yeah. The default application, you can just click OK. You can just click OK for that. Just click OK. Yes. Okay, so basically, yes, thank you everyone. Thank you, Israel. Thank you, Sam Trio, and everyone else who commented on that. Now, basically,
I would like to say something on that return 0. So
okay.
I think return 0 is like meant to like just show that yes, the code has been executed successfully. I don't know if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm correct.
Okay. I won't say if you're correct or not. Just let us know and then we'll see. Okay, so that's what you think. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So
I don't know if you got my comment the other time, but it tells the computer that you have ended your one is 0 as the integer value. That's what I think it is.
Yeah. A correction actually. Thank you again, Zil Gabriels. I made a mistake when I called this parentheses, and sorry, when I call this, yes, I think I called this brackets and I called this parentheses. Yeah. So basically, the naming convention is this is called, normally it's called a brackets. Of course, we know this as brackets, and this is actually called the curly brackets. Yeah, it's actually called the curly brackets. Again, thank you, Z Gabriel, for pointing that out. It's actually called the curly brackets. Yeah. So moving on, int main. Okay. Now remember we have an int here, so meaning it's going to be at the end. Basically, this just means that at the end of our main function, it is going to be returning a value. That is just what it means. At the end of our main function, it's going to be returning a value. So, and returning a value just means it's going to be returning this type of value, an integer type of value. And an example of an integer type of value is 0. So meaning at the end, if it checks the first line, okay, there is nothing in the first line, the compiler will go over to the second line. Okay, in the second line, there is printf, there is hello world. So basically, it's telling me to printf hello world, to print hello world on the console, and this semicolon specifies the end of this particular line. And then you to come to the next line. Okay, there is nothing in this line. There is actually something called the return. So this return will tell you that that is the end of the particular function, and it should return 0 to show that there is no error. If you should return 1, it's just a way of saying, okay, there's an error. It's just a way of showing you or letting you know if there's an error or not. So by default, you just return 0 because 0 is an integer, and of course, we don't have an error, so we just say return 0. So that's why we have return 0. It just signifies, okay, this is the end of the line or the end of the particular code block, and then it's returning 0 because we have an integer. So if this were to be another type of data type, it is going to return that type of data. For example, if it's going to be like a Boolean value, it's going to return either true or false. You can say return true or return false. So that's an example. But we're not dealing with a bool, we're dealing with an integer type of value. So we are going to return 0. Now, after doing this, there's a way to run this now. We have to run this so it shows on, we have to compile this so it shows on our terminal. It shows in real time what we just did. And the most easy way to do this is by clicking the build. You can see build and run. You can see the button here. Just click on build and run, and it will compile, create an output file, and then output that particular file. So let me just try to share my screen because it currently won't show the entire screen. So I'll just have to do that now in a bit. Okay. So I'll just try to share my screen. Okay. All right. So basically, we have it now, right? So we can also my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. So basically, we have our code with all its entirety, and we're trying to run this. So we have printf hello world, and of course, don't forget to save. You have to save. Control S can do the trick. So and then you click on the button here, build and run. You click build and run, and you see it's going to start telling you build has finished. 0 errors was found, 0 warnings, and it took 2 seconds to complete. Now this is our actual code. Now let me share this so it's more easily readable or viewable. Let us see. Can you see what we just did now? You can see hello world. And you see that the process returned 0. It was the 0 we specified in the return. So it told us the process returned 0 because there is no error. It returned 0. And you can see our text, hello world. Does everyone understand this?
No, sir.
I think I do.
I'm just coming, sir.
Okay, Precious, let's start with you. Ask a question.
I said I just entered, so I don't know if you've gone very far.
Yeah, we're already an hour into the session, so yes, you can imagine we've gone far.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry, a recording will be made available.
All right.
Yeah. So, anyone else with a question as to how we got hello world?
I have a question, but not how you got the word. The question is actually that what if you did not return anything? Like you did not even write the return, you did not write return, you did not write 0, you just ended the code hello world with the semicolon. We read one like that and give you the output.
The best way to show you is to do it. So let me take it out. Now I just, okay, of course, can you still see my screen? Oh, okay. So now I've just written this code without the return keyword. I've just written the code without the return keyword. Let me build it and run it. I think, okay, it's not showing now. Let me just make it so it shows. Okay, I'll share it. I'll do it again. So
please, which app is this?
So let me try to run it again without it. So you see that even without the return keyword, it's still executing. So it's not compulsory. You can impute it or you can have it. It's just better. Again, it's a way of actually signifying that your code has finished running and you want to do another thing. Hello world. Let me just save that. Close this. Build it again. Okay. So it's just a way of saying return 0 or there is no error found. So that's just it. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, how do we build and run it? I was trying to look for the button you press directly, but it does seem not to get it.
Even mine too is not working. Like, it will tell me the program has not been built.
It will tell you the word could not be built.
Yes.
What could not be built? Say your error message out for us again.
Okay, let me just, maybe I should screenshot it, right?
Yes. So just it and send it to the chat.
So I tried installing code blocks already. So I want to run this particular code you are running already on the screen. It's bringing out the options for project, build, target, files, custom, and user plate. So what exactly am I going to enter so I can start running the code so I can meet up to what you are doing practically?
Sorry, I can't seem to understand your question.
I've opened code blocks already. I've installed it and I've done all installation I need. So now, to begin with anything, it said I should create a new template. So there's the option of project, build, target,
Create a new
files,
file.
custom, and user. Creating, yes, that's where I am. So there's an option, project, build, target, files, custom,
Just a file. Create a new file.
Okay. Is it C/C++ header or C/C++ source?
An empty file.
Empty file. How do I do that?
There should be an option for an empty file there.
It's not bringing out any option, actually.
I think
just go to file, click on new, you'll see empty file.
File, new,
empty file.
Okay, yeah, okay, I just saw it. Okay.
Mine is that I'm clicking the build. Like, I'll have to
save your code
under the
to see
build.
your code first.
Okay.
Press Ctrl S to save your code first before you run and build. Or build and run screen.
So one of my questions also was, how do you build and run? Do we just Ctrl save and it automatically builds and run?
There is a button literally called build and run.
Okay, yes, I just saw it now. Okay.
There is a button called build and run. It's like a little play sign and then a bug attached to it. It's like it's a settings, a gear icon and a play button attached to it. So yeah, moving on. So basically we just wrote our first code in C. We just wrote our first code in C. Does anyone have any question as to how we wrote this code or the syntax or any question in general?
Please, I want to ask, if we remove the return statement, will the code still execute?
If you remove
the return statement,
yeah, it will still execute. Click gear and play icon to build and run your code. Okay. So basically, that's how you run your first program. Now let's perform some mathematics. Say for example, we want to output the sum of two numbers. For example, we have int number 1 is equals to 20, int number 2 is equals 30, and then int number 3 is equals to number 1 plus number 2. Obviously, so we are now telling it to add number 1, which is 20, and number 2, which is 30 together. Obviously, we'll get 50. So now, if we want to call this, we can just say /n, sorry, an escape key /n, and then percent. Oh, sorry, where's the percent sign again? Where is my okay, percent t? Okay, and then we can then say okay, let me just okay, we can then say number 3. Now sorry, it's still running. Is this still running? Okay, no, it's not running. All right. So, okay. Is my screen not shared? All right. Let me make this bold. Okay, I think it's as bold as it can get now. Bold as it can get now.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So let me share my screen. So it's all right. So basically, we have our first number called 20, our second number called 30, and we have a number 3, which is equals to number 1. Now notice number 1 and number 2. I didn't say 20 and 30 because I've already stored them inside these respective variables, number 1 and number 2 variables respectively. So I can simply say number 1, write number 1 here, and it will automatically understand that this is a variable. This is a storage container that is storing an integer value. So writing number 1 here is the same thing as me writing the value of number 1, which is 20. So I just added number 1 and number 2 together, and I stored it inside number 3. So right here, it will say hello world. Let me get rid of that hit. And then I notice I added some new things here. I added a forward slash or a backslash actually. It's a I think it's a backslash. Okay. The backslash, and this is also known as an escape character. It simply means go to the next line. So it's not going to write all of these inside the same line. It's going to write it in the next line. And then we have %d. It's going to tell us that the next thing that is going to be entered here will be a double or would be a variable, and then we'll specify the variable to be number 3, which is this number 3. So when we build and run this, you'll see what we just did. So let me share the screen again so it's more easy to see. Okay. So you see what we just did. Hello world, and then we have 50. 50 is on the next line. Notice it's on the next line because we use that %d, /n to indicate a new line. So that's how we did that. We just performed a mathematical operation on our code there. So let me just copy this code and paste it on the group chat so we all can see and tweak it however we want. Okay. So I'm pasting it on the sessions. Okay. So I've sent the code on the sessions topic. So you can see the entire code I just run. It's there now on the pre-learning sessions topic. So okay. Yeah. So any other questions concerning this?
Yes, sorry to drag you back. Like I'm clicking on the build and run, but it's not executing anything.
Is it still on that your screen? Your screenshot is the screenshot you sent.
Apart from any code I put at all, like once I click on the build and run, it does not do anything.
From what I can see in your code, you do not have a closing. Okay, I think you have a closing curly bracket. Let me see. Let me examine your code. Include stdio, int main, okay, printf, hello, my dear Nigeria, we shall grow, and an escape character, and then in love and peace, return 0. Which button are you clicking, and which error do you get? Because right now I can't seem to see any error, and your compiler isn't logging any error. So it's either you're not clicking the build and run button. The build and run button is actually different from the one your mouse is currently. So take a look at the build and run and then click the button. If there's no error or if there's an error, it will tell you an error and it will tell you where the error is coming from. That's if it successfully clicked it. If not, then know that you haven't built it yet or you haven't compiled it. Okay, so I believe that is that about that. Okay, over to questions. Any questions?
Yeah, sorry, I have a question. Still based on the codes. Can you please go to your code, like the coding? Or should I just check it from the group chat?
Okay.
Okay. I said yeah, integer main, I get that one. Number 1 is equals to 20, number 2 is equals to 30. Integer number 3 is equals to number 1 plus number 2. Okay. That's all this means you are assigning it to the number 1 and number 2 and number 3. The equals to means you are assigning it. Is an assignment. Is what they call it? Assignment
operator.
Operator, yeah. So all these numbers after the equals to is assigning it to the names, the numbers you put in number 1, number 2, number 3, Abby.
Yes. So basically, how programming works is that it will take the value on the right side and it will save it in the value on the left side. So it's going to add these two together and save it here. So it's always going to evaluate the items or the variables on the right side and then save them to the left. So it's not like you saying number 3 is equals this. It's actually both of these will then be stored in number 3. So hence we have this. Yes. So it assigns from the right to the left and stores it on the left.
Okay. So that's the side. Then the I got the \n, which will take the I think the results to the next page, next line.
Yeah.
But this percentage D, I still don't get it. I don't get the function.
All right. So yeah, D is a type of data type. D is a representative of the double data type. It's called double. D is literally spelled double. D-O-U-B-L-E. Let me just type that out. You can see it to be formatted. D-O-U-B-L-E. So double has to do with numbers that has floating point values like decimal point, like 697 points. For example, you're creating the area of the circle, the area of a perimeter of the circle, or radius of the circle, stuff like that. I know these are numbers that deal with decimal points. So you cannot specify a decimal point using integer, because integer takes only whole numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. But a double, it will take numbers even in decimal places. You can take numbers in 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, and the likes. So that is why double is more versatile and it's more bigger than int, so to speak. So I'm specifying double, the D here. So meaning I'm going to specify, in a sense, a number, because double also accepts number. It's basically, you can't specify a string inside double. So double is a type of number. I can also literally replace all the ints here to double. I can say double number 1 is equals to 20, double number 2 is equals 30, double number 3 is equals number 1 plus number 2, and I'll come here and I'll say number 3. Then let me run this again. Let me share my screen so we'll see when it runs. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. So let me build and run again. And then when we run this, give some time to build. And okay, double number 1 equals to the number 3. I've got 3, got 0 instead of 50. Okay. So basically, we're trying to add floating point values. So double has someone asking a question. Okay. So basically, double has to do with floating point values, just as I've just said, like decimal points and the likes. So
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, now this double what is it called? This percentage D, does it go with the double too, as it does with the integer?
Yes.
Okay.
It goes with integers. That's what I did just now. Let me share it again.
Okay.
Can you see the 50? Can you see my screen? Let me share it again. Hold on. Okay. So you can see we have 50.
Yeah. I mean the double. Like if you use double, will it be percentage DL or just D?
Will it be percentage what?
DL or just D?
No, not DL. That's actually D1. It's not L. Isn't this? Let me show you. This must be what you're talking about, right? What's my code box? Is this the L you're talking about, or F? Are you talking about F?
L like L.
DL, like this.
Yeah. For double, if you're not using int.
Okay, let's see again. Let's see. All right. Now let's run this. Okay, let me terminate the first one. Let me build and run. Okay, come on. Let me build and run. So it's compiling. For some reason it doesn't seem to compile, so I guess that does not work.
This
Yeah.
integer on top, last time you changed everything to double. Does it matter the fact that that one is still integer main?
So the fact that it did not compile, you can see that my screen is blank. So it's not working. Okay, it's not working actually. So we cannot specify it at 0L.
Okay.
So yes, as a DL, yeah, it will not work.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question. I tried running after creating the file. I tried running the code, but it's the line at the that is after the numeric figures. It's yellow. I saw your screen. Your screen had green line, but none of the codes are working. And down under the log, it said to
Did
do
you
this.
save it as a C extension, as a C file? And did you save it as an empty file? Those are things you need to take into consideration.
What I just did was empty file. I just clicked empty file and it brought out an untitled something else.
Did you save it before running?
No, I'm not sure I did.
So you have to save it before your file can run.
Okay.
All right. So any other questions?
Sorry, I don't want
I
to
have
ask
something to
again.
say actually.
Sorry, Sia David or C David. Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
So it's still based on this double. What if we remove this percentage D? Would it still assign the number to that number 3, and will it still print it out on the next line?
Let us see. Now, say I want to remove percentage D, and then I'll run my code. Then let me try to screen share. Share. Notice it did not show anything.
Okay.
So, meaning when you remove it, it will not work. You have to specify, or you have to tell it what it is to display there.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions? Sam Trio.
Try what is put the int into double from the first one, not the int main. Int number 1 to actually to double number 1, number 2, number 3, and from F hello world slash n d d L. So I ran and it gave me 0, 1 answer as the 0.
You don't need to specify DL1, just have to pass D for now, for the sake of this, should I say experiment? For the sake of this tutorial, yeah, let's go tutorial.
Okay. I was just talking about one thing actually.
Okay.
Any
other questions?
Question.
Okay.
Yes, so I did what you just said. I saved file and it's brought up the green line and everything, but it's not bringing out the particular pop-up for like.
Send the screenshots. There's obviously something you are missing or you're not doing.
No, it has gone green already, but it's not. How will I put it? It didn't bring out that pop-up file like I can see hello world.
Send
I
a
actually
screenshot so we know what you're talking about. Just send a screenshot to the group. All right. Any other question? Let me start asking by order of appearance. T-Tech, questions?
None actually. You've answered the question I had. Was about the
Oh,
double. Yeah, none
all right,
for now.
all right, all right. Okay. So next person on the list would be Naomi. Naomi, care to comment? Let's go over to.
I
Okay,
was having
just a
problems
shadow.
my since. So
You're having problem with your screen. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Did you say your screen or something?
Sorry.
yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
So I just imputed this double stuff you were talking about here in place of int, and I ran the code. It's the result is giving me it's 0. It's not giving me 50. So I don't know. Is there a mistake somewhere I did or?
In 0, it's giving you in 0 because of the specification. Did you call the numbers double instead of did you call them double instead of int?
Yes. Double
No,
number one
no,
equals 20.
no. Specify them as int because that's not a double variable. That's an integer variable.
Okay, so in case of double variables, you use double, yeah?
Yes, yes. That's when they are storing absolute double variables.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, for those complaining about no pop-up screen, the pop-up screen I'm talking about is your terminal. It will automatically pop up in your terminal. There's no pop-up screen actually. It's just your terminal because it's a command line. It runs on your command line. It's a console application. So you just type it, and after building and running, it will log and then it will pop up on your terminal. That's if you have it installed. Let me go through the screenshots one more time. Let's see. From the first screenshot Trust sent, I have a couple of issues with this code. First of all, line 3 does not have a semicolon. Line 3 does not have a semicolon to indicate the end of the file. So quickly work on that. Add the semicolon to the end of the file. So the end of that particular line 3. Then back to Precious, you have testing.c includes studio.h int main number 1, number 2, number 3, number. Now take a look at line 9. You said int number 3 is equals to number, and then you have a space, and then you wrote 1 plus number 2. You are telling it to add something called number. So number 1 is supposed to be written together because that's the same way you specified it when creating the variable number 1. So fix that, your number 9.
Yeah, I fixed it, sir. I fixed it
Okay.
now, but it's still not bringing the pop-up screen.
Now, see if you can take a screenshot of the particular button you're clicking.
It's on the screen I sent.
The gear and the play button, right?
Yeah, yes, my cursor is
On
there.
your logs panel, are you getting any error?
It says checking for existence, then the part C users, my name.
That's just the two information it's giving you, right?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm having network issues. All right. So let's try to ask more questions. King Crampa, your question.
Oh, I don't have a question right now.
Okay. Bexy loaded. Questions? Okay. Eminent. Questions? Questions related to what we just did, related to any programming question in general, you can ask them and find answers to them.
Sorry, I haven't joined when you guys talked about data types. So basically, like recap about the data types, the integer and alphabetical types.
You seem to remember integer and alphabetical. So I think you have a valid idea or a clear description of what they are. But for the sake of those who
Well,
aren't there.
when I joined, that was all I had, so I could still remember that.
Okay, I just use them the alphabetical type and numeric type as an analogy, because just as you have alphabets and numbers, that's the same way you have strings and integers. So numeric data types is another name for integers, while alphabetical data types are another name for strings. So that's just the difference, and I specify them here. And I said integer and string. Now notice all these codes, they were not executed. You cannot find this code in my code actually. When I run this, you did not see this is a comment, this is a code for printing hello world or data type, because it has been commented, it has been hidden from the compiler. The compiler did not see this line. So this is only visible to me, which is why we only saw hello world and 50. So I think that explains that. Moving on. Who else hasn't asked the question?
Yes,
Eminent,
I
we
have a
still haven't
question.
heard from you. Eminent, are you with us? Still can't hear you. Okay. Sandra Zenith. Sandra, can you hear us?
Yeah, I want to ask the meaning of that D there. What does that mean?
It stands for double, or a way of outputting any integer data type. So it's a way of telling the compiler that the next thing I'm going to type here, or the next thing I'm literally going to type here is going to be a number. It's going to be a number, a data type called number, and we can specify that using D, which stands for double. double. So you can specify that using D. So to tell you that, okay, I'm specifying a type of number, and that is what I passed here, number, as a second parameter, number.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Hello, Sandra. Does that answer your question? I can't hear you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Chimex Larry, questions?
Yeah, no questions actually, but you were saying something about the pop-up being on our terminal. I don't seem to get
Yes,
that.
it's directly from your terminal.
Okay. I don't seem to
If
find
there's an
it.
error, it will show in your log. If there's an error, it will show in your log. It will tell you build file. For those of you that are not getting any pop-up, it's because your file or your code has not been built. Take a look at that. Let me go back to my code. Look at this. It says build file. Build has finished. Build finished. So it's really easy. So if you're not getting any pop-up, know that your file has not been compiled. And if not been compiled, there's no way you can have a pop-up. So it means you've not even clicked the build button. This is the build button here. It's just it will tell you that it's building, and then it will tell you build. If there's an error, it will tell you that there's an error. Simple. So it has to tell you that it's building. If not, know that it's not working. Okay. So there's probably an error with either your code or you're not pressing the correct button. Is it Gabriel's? Any addition or questions?
None from me. Thanks. You're actually doing okay. None from me for now.
All right. Midoli, any questions? Oh, I think I missed one or two. Amy, any questions? Rachel, any question?
No, I don't have any question. You've answered what I was confused about.
Okay. Kuro, any more questions? Any further questions?
No question for me for now.
Okay. So this is just like a basic introduction to C. This is just like the first code, and believe me, when you start doing when you start diving deeper into this, and you'll notice that we have merely scratched the surface. There are a lot of things you could do with C, and there are a lot of things you could do with programming in general. So we've only just started. As time goes on, we will learn more. We'll learn more things. What?
I have a question. Though it's not based on this. It's based on the answer, the question and answers on the quiz page. So
okay.
I was going through the questions and the answers because I already missed the deadline to even answer. And then the questions I was saying, they sound like they seem so alien because I went through all the videos on the YouTube channel and I didn't see this. I don't know, maybe I was missing a video, I was missing a part, but like I didn't even get any one of them.
Okay. Now those questions are basically based on our sessions, our previous sessions. So if you watch the sessions, you have an idea as to getting answers to those questions. Basically,
this one was of yesterday, August 12th. That's when the
yes, and we have previous sessions already on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've seen literally. I think it's just the last one I didn't finish. So I don't know. Is this based on that last?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Our the last session we did, it was not recorded. I was not available then. It was during the week that just ended, so I was not available then. Unfortunately, I could not record it. But this is currently being recorded. So yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah,
so sorry
let's
about
start.
that.
Why are they? Okay, first, I think what would be your the best advice to like recap on all this? Should I like get each question and like search them online or because I just it seems like I've missed it out on a lot based on all these questions. I'm saying just 10 questions and I can't even answer one.
Well, my best advice would be to um, continue with what we're doing, obviously. Like, keep on watching the videos. You literally have a few hours before ALX starts. So, of course, when it starts, it doesn't mean our sessions are going to end. We're going to keep having these sessions as frequent and as much as we can, because we also have other engagements and other projects to work on. So we're just trying to do this out of free time, out of our free time. Not even free time. We have so many things to do, but we're just trying to sacrifice some time to help everyone to have a basic idea as to what we're doing. So as time goes on, of course, ALX is not going to start from scratch. People think ALX is going to start from scratch. They're not going to start from scratch. They are maybe just going to scratch the surface, just take a tip of the surface, and then it's all man to his kettle. So ALX is going to start hitting with the hard stuff within the first week. They literally said a project will be given every single day of class. So just to tell you that they're not playing. So they're not going to tell you how to save a file or if a pop-up is not showing.
Wow.
So yeah, that's why we're trying to make it easy for people that for newbies actually. So yeah.
Can
Okay, thank
Saditi
you.
has
Yeah,
you spare time?
yeah. So we have like 5 more minutes. We have like five
Okay.
more minutes. So
In your
any
own,
further questions?
yes, sir.
Yes. What's up?
So in your settings, that's your toolbar, the options. In your settings, we have environment, editor, compiler, debugger. So I don't know if you can open the compiler part. Let me see which of the compiler you selected.
There's only one compiler for C, and that's called your GCC compiler. You just need to click on this button here. Can you see my cursor?
I've been doing that. I have been doing that. It's not
And it's not
working.
popping up. Okay.
It's not.
I think at this point I'll answer a video. Send a video to the group chat and then we'll see how it goes. So 4 minutes more. Any further questions? Any comments? Okay, let me go back to Naomi. I think you're still with us. Do you understand what we've just done?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, perfect. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Any further questions aside from not being able to
Sorry,
save a
nothing.
file? What? Sam Trio, please go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, I have something to say, not a question actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I want to know, can you give us like an assessment? We should just do like a little assessment and submit it tonight. Just a suggestion to test
Yeah,
what we did now.
I have that planned out, and basically we do that using quizzes. Yeah, we set the quiz and then it will run. Okay. So
Okay.
but basically, yeah,
Okay.
I can take.
I no longer hear anything.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we
Yeah, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you now.
Okay. Sorry about that. Network was acting up. So yes, I can give an assessment. So basically, let's see, off the top of my head, all I have are really complex challenges in my head. Okay, let me see if I can think of an easy one. Write a program. Okay, I'll type it out at this point. I'll type it out. Write a program that will take the okay. Basically, the aim of the program is to calculate a student's average. A student who sat for 3 separate exams, maths, English, and biology. The program is going to calculate the average of that student. Remember, an exam is called over 70 or over 100, depending on the grade you choose to. Okay, let me just set a grade. Okay, the grade for each exam, like the total grade for each exam, will be over 100. Okay, so now you are free to specify the particular grade of the person, but the limit is 100. So you are free to tweak it a bit. Like for mathematics, the person got 20. In short, let me just okay, yeah. Let me type it out so you understand what I'm trying to say. What's my notepad? So everyone is free to get onto this, and then you're free to show your workings. You're free to do research. Just anything that helps you. So. All right, let me type a question. Let's see. Write a program which calculates the average score of a student who wrote 3 exams, namely English, maths, biology. Biology. Okay. The grades, let me just specify the grades, are as follows. Maths, it got 70 over 100. English got 90. And then biology, it got 50. Now, calculate the average score of this student. Next, if the let me not make it complex. I would have said if the average score is less than 50, you should tell the person that the person performed below average, and if it is above 50, the person performed above average. This is exactly the type of program that is used to grade your work in secondary school and universities as well. This type of program for schools that have websites, you submit your programs online and it will automatically calculate and tell you your grade or your average. This is how it's done. So try to give me, I'm not going to give you the formula for calculating average score. So you have to do your research. How do you get the average score of a set of numbers? Get the average score, and you have to output. Yeah, of course, output should be your average score is, and then you have to specify your score here. You have to specify your average. Do we understand the question?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't see any screen. No.
Yeah, hold on. Let me send the question to the group chat.
It's probably my network. All right.
Okay, I'll send the question.
Okay, yeah, it's
Is this the kind of, or are this the kind of questions we should be expecting from ALS, or something harder than this?
Something harder than this. This is just
wow.
This was This is the first question they gave me back in 100 level. This is the first question. So this is just like the basic. This is baby code. Let me say baby code. And mind you, it was much higher than this. We had to check for, we had to use if statement to check if the score is less than 30, if it is less than 50, if it is less than 90, if it is equal to 100, you have to check for all of this. And we have to ask the person if the person wants to repeat the question. And right now I'm giving you the values. Another way could be ask the person for the value. What subjects are they going to calculate? They will enter, if it's maths, they will type maths and it will save it. If you ask them what is the score for maths, and they will type it and it will save it. English and type. At the end of the day, it will calculate all of these and it will tell you the average. So that is a more advanced version of this. But I'm just trying to give you this so that at least you can be more than prepared. So just try your hands on this and just tweak it a little bit, see what you can come up with. It does not have to be perfect, but just try to work with it. This is an example of a logical question because programming is filled with logical questions. It borders in the line between mathematics and programming. So there's not a lot of syntax to be worried about. So it just basically has to do with your data type, saving your data types, calculating the average score. Someone speaking Yoruba. Yes. Okay. So that's basically the question.